Maddie, what's going on? What's going on? What a great day. Just a phenomenal day it was today. PW. Izzy, am I doing okay? I mean, if I watch any more Chop, I might have to stick my eyeballs with a pencil. Like, this is just terrifying to watch. This price action these past 2, 3 days has been horrible. I mean, imagine having to watch this and stare at this all day, trying to actually see some good plays, and it's like just straight up chop. Maddie, actually, I appreciate you hear me because I want to make sure that you guys did hear me. I don't know what happened yesterday with my mic, so nice thing to check that out. What's going on, Baru? Yeah, today was pretty rough. It was you'll get damn Izzy. Is that how you feel? Tell me how you really feel. Damn, PW. That was actually very smart. Really smart of you not trading this chop today. I think after tomorrow though, we'll have a better idea because after that CPI data tomorrow, I do expect us to actually get some kind of massive directional move in which bulls either take control or the bears ultimately win like they have been pretty much for these past few days. And the funny part is that Avery's been getting in my head because every time he says something's flagging or we're going to get a reversal, and then I have to put my bull cap on and I'm like, all right, what does he see right now? But it is what it is. Basically, we're still in this bear flag right now. If you guys remember my recap from last night on NASDAQ, we're still within this bear flag. What's actually been the trend now, but actually, you realize it a little too late, is that we've been gapping up every morning and then a steady decline from basically that morning pump into basically the rest of the day into power hour, which we call sour hour these past 3-4 days here. All right. So all these wicks that you see along my resistance within this bear flag right now has been those morning pops that we've been getting. And so we've been getting those morning pops and then just selling off through the entire day. And that's what's been the bloodfest that we've been watching all day, in which if you didn't follow the trend and catch that earlier at some point at the top of the bear flag, then you're basically fighting to buy the dip that you would have had to end up holding overnight to get back to a higher low, and basically is what we've been seeing, right? So price action wise, yeah, it's basically just been higher lows and lower lows. That's all we've been seeing, so that you get that overnight pump and then you get that daytime bleed out. And that's what we've been seeing. So now we're finally at the support level of this bear flag. It was about time that we actually got to the support. And if you guys actually heard me in Power Hour today, which I call Sour Hour, me and Avery were actually debating and looking around the whole entire market looking for a swing play today. And that was a little bit tougher than what we expected because of the market conditions, and then Apple just throwing that little caveat at us and just pretty much bringing the market down with us into the close. So that didn't help matters in terms of any type of bullish thesis going into tomorrow, and then data being the wild call tomorrow. So he was pointing out Peloton. That was one. I mean, I'll leave that on him. And then I believe he was actually looking at another ticker, if I'm not mistaken. He was looking at something else. Actually, he was looking at Netflix with me. Netflix is actually one of my top watches, as well as Dougie. So likely tomorrow, if we do get a nice little run here tomorrow, then it's likely possible that all three of us will be in Netflix tomorrow. All right. But basically, what I like now at this point is that we're in the right spot to make a break, pretty much a directional move at this point. Either we're going to get a nice bounce off of this bear flag and we'll get another leg higher, in which bulls have a chance to get control and break to the upside of this bear flag, or we're going to end up breaking the support, which is a high possibility based on the data that likely will show inflation tomorrow, and we break the support of the bear flag, and then bears pretty much are in full control at that point. Okay, so today felt like kind of like the last hope for bulls, but if we get that bounce of support here today, or tomorrow rather, then we could see another leg up higher, in which we end up making a higher high potentially in the coming days to the top resistance of this bear flag, in which that'll be another directional move that we'll see at that point, in which we break to the upside or we reject and play the cha-cha-cha going all the way down again, in which we see that little bloodfest of lower lows and lower highs. Okay. So I'll watch for that tomorrow. And so as we break this key support level here, I'm looking at this breaking right around that 14,581 level tomorrow. As we see, we got the perfect bounce off of that going into the close here today. So overnight, we're going to see likely a little pump here. And that's why I didn't want to take calls overnight. I was anticipating that we get another lower high, basically, in which we could push right up to even right around this range of 14,704. So we could see that nice little pump into the morning, into that data tomorrow morning. And that was the reason why I didn't want to take calls, because I didn't want to get caught holding that position in which Nasdaq's going to be pumping, but then CPI data just brings us right back down and flushes us right out of the support. So it was too risky to really go either way. And if I ended up getting puts tomorrow, which did favor the downtrend going into the close, then the CPI data actually turns out to be good for the market, then I pretty much get face ripped. All right. So pretty much it goes either way. So this is why this market right now, this entire drop for that matter, on this bear flag from that resistance, has not been a good session for swing traders, basically. All right. It has not been fluent in terms of taking swings. Now, if you caught the trend that's been going on, in which you just buy a call immediately at close and sell it right at open, that would have been the only way that you would have been able to really get a nice swing trade out of this trend that's been going on. But hopefully, as of tomorrow, we'll get a better direction. Swing trades will actually be a little bit more fluent with the directional move that we'll get tomorrow, and we'll see what we do from there. All right. But what was actually also nice is that we got the bounce as well earlier before today. We got that bounce right off of a prior support trend line. Basically, well, I would say resistance, because this was actually acting as resistance prior up until October 6th, in which we broke out to the resistance of the bear flag, but we rested right on top of it. So once we do end up breaking tomorrow, I'm going to act to see if this is actually going to act as a support line tomorrow. So this may be pretty much, I would say now would be a support line that you want to draw to look to see if we end up breaking down, how this acts upon the support level here. And then if we do end up getting the bounce to play off, basically make a play off of that for the bounce. All right. So that's something you may want to look at. Pretty much draw out that support line, prior resistance line on the 2-hour on the Nasdaq futures here. And if we do end up flushing tomorrow off of the data, then that'll be your play action right there to take the bounce off of that support level. All right. And vice versa, I also do have the resistance here, as those pretty much lower highs have been in play. It could be again in play tomorrow, in which we get another higher low here hitting the resistance and then just wick right back down. All right. So that's something to keep in mind. Other than that, quick glance at S&P, which looks pretty much almost the same, but here we do have a little bit more of a larger wedge action that's going on, in which I do have my support levels that I'll be watching. Ultimately, all the way down to the bottom is that 42.77 level, in which kind of aligns with what I believe Avery has as his lower target for SPY, is that 427 level. So that's pretty much my bottom level of support. I do have two bounce zones, in which that's 4307 and then also 4294. So those are the two levels that I'm also watching intermediately there, if we do end up dropping tomorrow. But that last leg, and this is where I ultimately do agree that we're going to end up getting to, is that 427 level. And that'll ultimately decide if we continue to break down at that point, in which we go lower, or we end up finding support level around that 427 level, and ultimately at some point in time end up breaking this downtrend to the upside. Okay, so that's pretty much my best case scenario, in which case we hold that 427 level. That's pretty much what I'm expecting to see. But other than that, if we're looking for the bounce, then we're looking towards that 43.48 level, and then also toward 43.73, right around that level there, in which we get a nice bounce if the CPI data does play in favor for us. Hope we get a strong direction. That's really what I'm expecting tomorrow. That's literally what I'm expecting. All this little daytime decline and morning pops is really getting annoying right now. It's pretty much just bleeding out all day, and that strong decline. So hopefully we get either a strong break to the upside or the downside. That's really what the main focus is tomorrow. But moving on, as you see the current levels here, again, I strongly suggest drawing the support and resistance lines that I actually have within this bear flag on NASDAQ futures, especially those of you that are always looking at tech stocks pretty much, as myself and Avery. This is pretty much where I want to see this zone, how this plays out pretty much, because as you see, this was a resistance again, and now it's acting as support. So I am going to look for the support level tomorrow if we end up declining to make an pretty much an actionable play right off of the NASDAQ. All right. Moving on, pretty much tech stocks as in focus. We did see a strong move out of Tesla as we broke right out of that wedge. That was a strong push right out of it, and as we retested right into the close. So as I get into lower time frames, I think about the 30 minutes should do. As we saw, we retested right onto support, as which was prior resistance. Tamakaze actually posted the rising wedge about maybe 50 times in the Discord, in which we both didn't take that actionable play to the downside, and we knew that it was coming. It just bad timing of pretty much looking at the play and trying to get filled. But that was a beautiful breakdown off of that rising wedge, and what I actually like is the spot that it pretty much wicked off of is that now support level. So if we're looking at support, that's right around that 805 level, and so we'll see it's right around 803. I apologize. 803.10 is right around that support level in which we held. So if we do see that again tomorrow, that'll be another gift if we see that level again. But I expect a further pretty much steady uptrend right into their earnings into next week. So this will be a beautiful move. We'll get a nice little rebound here, and we should see this trend right up. I know that Dapper actually had his own resistance, and I'll probably pull out for those of you that didn't catch that yesterday. If I'm not mistaken, Dapper actually has a target somewhere around the 830 level. The top of what my wedge is right around the 821 level. So that's what I'm actually looking at. He has this breaking out a little bit further up to the 830 level. So definitely if you want to see further upside from his chart, see his perspective, then definitely message Dapper or tag him in the chat and you can see what his target is. But as far as mine is 821 near term here, and that's where I'll assess it at that point in time once we get to that level. All right. So that's one that I'm watching as far as continuation tomorrow. Upstart was a beautiful move. I wish I actually held this one overnight. I actually sold out of it yesterday. But this was just a beautiful move that we had. We went right up to the resistance and just pretty much a massive candle right out of it. We got a beautiful continuation off of that. And so what I'll be looking for is pretty much a retest of this breakout. As we saw with Tesla, we had a retest of its breakout. We're likely going to get that retest of this breakout here right around 315. And if I'm not mistaken, also, Avery also mentioned that the 5-wave impulse structure was actually completed. So he actually had a wave 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's actually saying that this wick, this high of the day here today, 337.52, actually completed that 5-wave structure. So we are going to get the ABC structure down, in which case that does lead right into retesting of the prior resistance of this pretty much bull flag. All right. So we'll watch for this one to play the downside. The only thing I will caution on playing puts on Upstart is that this stock does move pretty much erratic. So if you're trying to get puts, I don't suggest going far out of the money. That wouldn't be a wise decision because of the fact that data will likely destroy you because of those bounces. I do believe that the theta is pretty high on those strikes. So I would suggest going as close to at the money or in the money if possible. All right. So that's pretty much just my caution on that one. Apple, I don't know why exactly I actually have this one up here because we saw how this one just got destroyed. And the bad part was that I believe Avery actually had position in here. It is what it is. It was expected to have a nice run. It didn't happen that way. I pretty much had a nice little megaphone here. You can see it clearly on this 1 hour time frame here. And so we ended up getting right close enough to support. We'll likely see that break down. Actually, it did break down after hours. I apologize. So it did break down. It's right around the 139 level. So this broke down right on the support of the megaphone here. And so we'll actually likely see this. I did have a support level that I was watching. If I zoom out here. Yeah, my support level that I was watching is right around the 137 level. So close enough to this gap fill is what I would say is right around that 137.75. Is right around that low of where this gap fill will likely then be tested and filled. So this gap fill has a high possibility of being filled now. as this downtrend is here. But it is a possibility that we actually hold this uptrend, this level, current level, I want to say, until earnings. If we continue to bleed out here, then it will be pretty bad to see this gap fill down and then have its earnings. But it is what it is at this point. The bad part about earnings now is that I don't really see a run up also into the earnings because of the fact that we pretty much already have the known factor of what's really going to be their their weakness in their earnings. I think the other unknown part is pretty much is their streaming services. Is how much is that going to weigh into their pretty much their forward guidance as well? Is their streaming aspect? But that chip shortage is definitely going to take a hit, and so I do expect further decline. That gap fill is going to be the priority here first, and then if we're going to a further decline, in which I do expect market conditions to impact that, we'll be getting down to this 134 level. But again, to get down to that 134 level, it would really have to be either earnings or it would have to be market conditions really worsening. All right. So that's pretty much the case scenario here for Apple. Running down those few names here as I get to Facebook now. This one actually has a beautiful pattern for me. It's going to be a short-term bounce in my perspective. It's not going to be a strong uptrend. It's not going to be pretty much a long-term position that I'm going to be looking for. It's just going to be a quick bounce that I'm expecting as we see a beautiful descending channel. So I'm expecting some kind of breakout. We'll fill this gap right up to this level of 326. So we'll fill that gap and then break this resistance is what I'm expecting. And it'll be a short-lived bounce right close enough to that 335 level. I want to say close enough to 335.60 is where I would say that's the ballpark of where I'm looking to get this pretty much bounce. I would say not necessarily an uptrend, but the bounce before this continues to either chop or market conditions pretty much bring it back down. All right. So that play is pretty much on high watch for me tomorrow. The other play is Netflix. And pretty much what I'm looking for on Netflix, and let me zoom out the chart so you get a better picture on the breakout and the retest that I'm watching. As you saw, these wicks pretty much almost all aligned in this breakout. And so I'm watching for this retest as this breakout is right around this low 620 level. And so if we do get any kind of decline here tomorrow, that's where I'm looking for the bounce zone. Is that right around that 620 level, give or take if we wick down to about 617, 616 because high volatility tomorrow, that'll be the level where I decide to scale into a position. And again, that's depending upon market conditions. If it's really bad following that data, then yes, circumstances do change. But around that 617 level to 620 is where I'll look to scale into a position here on Netflix, and which that'll basically be your retest of support, and then we'll get a beautiful uptrend right back up to near highs. All right. So that'll be one that I watch along with Facebook. Those are two strong positions that I'm looking at. Just touching bases on Zillow. I know that Tom was actually talking about this one today, so in case you didn't catch that one on live with us, this was a beautiful falling wedge. We got a nice little breakout. We wicked all the way up to about 96.10 and a beautiful retest. That was the key factor, is that beautiful retest right here. So I know that Tom took a small position in that one, and so that's pretty much a nice little hold right there for him, and it's actually still a good entry. Now, what I would suggest is trying to get that entry below 93. Hopefully it doesn't gap up or it doesn't move for those of you that are looking to enter. But that would be my ideal entry for you, is anywhere under that 93 level. Hopefully the markets stay at least flat. Maybe that gives you those conditions to get in there. But I did like how this actually held up despite the market weakness into close. So that was definitely a good sign. Again, you're looking for relative strength amongst all the weakness in the market. And this definitely was showing relative strength on this breakout here and the retest. All right. So that's one to keep an eye on there tomorrow. Another one that I'm watching, and I think I actually touched bases on this one yesterday, was Affirm. I'm still watching it to see this head and shoulders play out on this ascending wedge here, expanding wedge. And so as you remember, yesterday I pointed out we had the left shoulder, we had a nice little head. We're forming a little bit of a rising wedge type action here. And so I do want to see if this ends up forming this right shoulder. And if we end up breaking that neckline, that'll be a beautiful short, and hopefully market favors this short right here. So that'll be a beautiful one along with Upstart. So those are two short positions that I'll be watching heavily tomorrow if market does go to the downside. All right. So those are two really for the short side. Microsoft is more so for the downside along with Apple. This one actually had a nice little breakout of a descending channel. We already filled the gap that was there, and we had a little bit of a key support level here right around this level of 293.82, but we ended up breaking that support because of the market weakness. So I'm going to look for this one to retest support now on this channel. And so I'm expecting this to come down to that high 288 mark, depending how much and how fast it declines. But just around that high 288 mark, we'll see this one likely get a nice little decline here tomorrow and retest. And that'll be the deciding point whether to pretty much scale into a long position given market conditions, or if it ends up continuing to break below that support level and market volatility just takes over. All right. And last one, just to point out, in which you always want to keep an eye on, is VXX. So pretty much what I actually have on VXX is more so a descending channel. We actually been holding support, just teetering up and down below that support level. And so I want to see if we're actually going to get a continuation out of this, break this recent high over 25.19, in which that's not going to be good. And that pretty much means that data tomorrow is going to bring us down and further decline, and volatility is going to pick up. All right. So definitely keep that one on watch tomorrow. You always want to be aware of how much VXX is actually moving. Is it bull flagging? Is it forming a wedge, in which that kind of gives you that indication of market direction? All right. Now, real quick before we wrap up the session tonight, actually, charting all this, I didn't even look at how futures were actually looking. Nasdaq is down about 44 points. S&P about 11 points. We're still teetering. It's not that bad. All right, let me see what you guys wanted me to look at. Let me see real quick. Izzy, what do you want me to look at? DKS? Let me see. Actually, I do like retail in general. I'm not going to lie. Retail in general is actually looking like it's going to be a nice little run up. I know that Dougie was actually looking at it today, if I'm not mistaken. He was scouting a lot of different names. He was looking at Walmart, he was looking at Target, and then he was also looking at Costco, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely keep an eye all around on all the different retailers, because we should get a nice little move. Now, from what I'm seeing is you gotta have a nice little support level here on DKS. Definitely a falling wedge if you see that action there. But you definitely want to see it hold right around this level here. If I were to say if we were to continue declining, the ultimate level will be right around that 112.42 level is what you definitely want to see this hold. That will be a very good sign right there. Holding in between that body of that candle and the wick of that candle. That will be a beautiful little support level that you definitely want to see. Otherwise, if you end up breaking below that, then you're looking at the gap fills here below, in which that falling wedge is going to continue to decline. So definitely watch that area. And then if it falls below that gap level, then you're looking at the next level of support here, in which you're going down to 106.72. All right. So those will be the three levels of support that you definitely want to keep looking at. Again, the first one will be right around that 112.42 level, in which you're holding between that wick and the body of that candle. Then you actually have the gap fill that's going to be entering below 110.54. And then your next level of support is around 106.59. And so those will be the three levels of support that you're looking at, including basically that gap fill as your support level. All right. So that's DKS. Let me see what else you guys had. Moderna. Moderna had a little bit of a wedge. I'll give you a quick insight on that one. I thought about this one. It just didn't really appeal to me too much. You had a nice little bear pennant, I would say this is, after the steep decline that we had. And so you had a nice little breakout. We're still holding that support level is really what it is. And so I just want to see a nice little continuation over the body of these two candles. If we get a nice little move over that 311, I want to say ballpark number will be 312. Then I would actually feel a little more confident getting a further uptrend on this, because I do want to see a continuation. But we can end up breaking down here tomorrow. And I do believe that they actually have news that's expected at some point this week. I do have to look at for what. I saw some some kind of tweet about some kind of news that's expected on Moderna as well. So proceed with caution as well. But if I would really wanted to swing this, I want to see pretty much a continuation over the two bodies of these candles, in which that would be right around over that 313 mark. That would give me a better confidence level. All right. Let me see what else you guys were talking about. Roku. I haven't really looked at Roku. What is Roku doing? So last time we actually looked at Roku, we had a nice little descending expanding wedge that ended up getting a nice little breakout. What you basically have is what I would say is some type of wedge. You had a nice little support level that it's sort of building here. And I want to see it break out of this little level of support here. Oh, this resistance, I mean. So this is pretty much the formation of what you'll be looking at. You have a nice little, what I would say is a falling wedge action. You want to see it hold the support level right here and get that bounce over the break here on this resistance level. Then you're going to end up looking to retest that recent high here over that 321.82, in which then that would lead you to complete this gap fill that's right here. And that gap fill would complete right around 334.22. All right. So definitely draw out this little wedge, falling wedge right here, see which directional break it takes, and then again, the gap fill here would be the completion for the upside, in which that would be 334.22 you would target. All right. You guys have a lot of tickers tonight. What's going on with you guys? I'm gonna do two more, and that's gonna kind of wrap up tonight's session real quick. Let's see what I choose. What I choose. What I choose. All right, I'm gonna choose two random ones. Given that I did a lot of tech, oof, I'm pretty much this is all tech. Wow, you guys are amazing right now. All right, I'm gonna look at. I'll pick an AMD. I haven't looked at AMD, and I know chips are pretty much a spotlight right now. But AMD has a nice little wedge right now. I believe it actually formed a little double bottom formation here. Yes, it did. So you had a nice little double bottom down here at 99.83 here. That was a nice little double bottom formation that you had. You basically want to see this break above this resistance level. You have what I would say is more so of a descending triangle type formation here. Yeah, I would say this is more of a descending triangle, but this is a bullish descending triangle. So you do want to see this level of support hold here right around this 104. Is it 64? 104. Yeah, 104.62 is a level that you want to see hold on AMD. If 104.62 holds, then you have a good chance of testing this resistance and getting that solid breakout. And that breakout would occur right over the level of 106 there. All right. So that's pretty much your range. Over 106, you're going to look for the upside. And if you're looking for support level, that support is right around 104.62. All right. So that's what I would be looking for. Otherwise, if you break that 104.62, then you're likely coming down right down to 103.67 area. All right. I did see puts on this one, by the way. There were some puts, pretty much quite a few puts for 101. So proceed with caution on this one. But again, those two ranges, over 106 is calls, below 104.62 would be puts in my book here. All right. Let me see what else. I'll take one more real quick. Um, let's see. Yeah, you could say that was a cup and handle, by the way. I would say that's a cup and handle. You have a little bit of cup and handle right there. You have the resistance. But again, I mean, it needs to break out of that wedge formation would be the priority there. Not necessarily the resistance of the cup. So again, over 106, then you would take that calls and you would ride that up right up to the resistance of the cup. If you break 104.62, then puts would be the play. All right. One more. I see net came here twice, so I'll take a look at net. I don't know what net is doing exactly. And that is a dummy type move. What is this? Why didn't anyone point this out to me? Tilu, I blame you for not pointing this one out to me, by the way. Although I did have this charted not that long ago. What I actually looked at was I was looking at a long-term resistance level. So this is something you want to... I don't know why that's there. This is something you want to keep an eye on here, right? So you have a long-term resistance level. As you see, we hit that resistance level at the bottom. We hit it twice in the middle. And we're just near that resistance level. So you're basically going to look right around that high 151, 152 level to see if we're going to get the breakout here tomorrow. in which if this is going to break to the upside of the resistance, or are we going to reject yet again. But be careful to get, if it does reject and you're trying to play the downside, don't get caught in this type of action right here where you see this little roundabout and you get the retest. Okay, so just be careful with that. But you're definitely right near resistance, right around that 151, 152 level, in which it should technically reject at this level, and then you'll see some downside. But that was a very strong move that we saw here today. The move that I would have taken on this one is that once you did break that recent high, that would have been the move right there to enter calls. If you didn't get pretty much the reversal at the bottom. But that would have been the move that you wanted to get over at 137.03. That would have been a beautiful move, a beautiful swing play actually, because this is a daily chart. That would have been the move to take right there. Again, once you usually typically break an all-time high, it's usually going higher. That's typically the trend. So that would have been the point of entry right there when you break the all-time high of that 137.07, and you would have took that ride straight up to the resistance that you're approaching now. All right. But other than that, guys, I think we went over quite a few charts. We'll see what tomorrow does. If I didn't get to your charts, call it out or tag me tomorrow morning in premium chat. I'll take a look at it and I'll get a chart in premium chat for you guys, because it's a lot of tickers out there. So I know that you guys are probably holding or you're looking to get a position. So tag me in premium chat tomorrow. I'll take a look at them. I'll post charts out there for you guys. Or even tonight, I'll see if I get some time later on tonight, and I'll go through get a charting session in tonight. But other than that, let's see what data does tomorrow. I just really hope for pretty much a big directional move. That's really the goal tomorrow, because this chop and overnight pump is really just killing momentum right now. There's no momentum. I think the only names that we saw momentum for the most part was Upstart and Tesla pretty much. Those are the only two names that we really saw momentum in today. And that's not really, no, gonna fit for everyone's style. We're all looking at different names, always trying to catch the bottom of a different name. So hopefully we get a directional move tomorrow. And that's really the goal tomorrow. All right, following that data. But other than that, I think that kind of wraps up tonight's session, guys. You guys go have a good night. We'll see what tomorrow brings, and I'll see you guys on live tomorrow at 9:30.